So, globalization is really this complex web of forces and factors that bring people, cultures, cultural products, markets, as well as beliefs and practices into increasingly greater proximity to and interrelationship with one another. So, it's this web of factors, right? So, yes, it's people, it's the migration and movement of people for jobs, for opportunities, for war, for famine, from the historical context of that, right? People moving, forced migrants, right? Because of the legacy, because of things like slavery, right? It's the diaspora, the spread of different peoples all over the world, right? Because of violence, right? Like the Holocaust, right? Because of slavery. It's all of those things. It's bringing cultures into contact, right? And this mixing of cultures and the meeting of cultures that we often see now. Cultural products, yes. So, literally something like orange juice, right? If you look at the back of your orange juice container, it'll say something like made from oranges in Mexico, Brazil, and or Florida, right? And that there's this interconnection of how they make the product, right? Uh, it's not made from oranges in one place. It's made from oranges all over the world, right? Yes, markets, right? How markets are increasingly interconnected, right? And how we are the number one consumer of Chinese goods, right? And how that's creating fears and potential problems in our economy, right? As well as beliefs and practices into increasingly greater proximity and to interrelationship with one another. Yes, so the beliefs and practices are also spreading, right? Like, what is a good life? What does it mean to live a good life? What is beautiful? What is meaningful? What is sexy, right? All these things are spreading around the world and coming in contact with each other. So, what are some of the forces and factors? So, yes, as I've talked about before, advances in communication technologies. So, how info can spread very quickly at the click of a button. Uh, you know, the protests in the Arab Spring, I believe it was 2010 and 2011 in Egypt and Tunisia and places like that came about because of the quick spread of information on things like Facebook and these kinds of digital technologies. But yeah, instantaneously, right, we can find out about news around the world because of communication technologies like the internet, right? And the our cell phones that we have, right? Very quickly you can find out what's happening in China or Europe, right? And this is a big force for particularly how images, right? Images are spread, representations are, and beliefs and practices are spread. And then, of course, advances in transportation technologies. Yes, that you can take a plane across the Atlantic and be in Europe in a couple of hours as opposed to 3 weeks, right? If you had to take a ship, right, has really shrunken the world, right? And then even advances in transportation technologies. Yes, at the same time, things like shipping have spread goods and cultural products around the world, right? Where are your clothes made? Where are cars made, right? Our furniture, our electronics, right? Have spread around the world because of the advances in transportation technologies, which leads to the next one, economic and political policies and practices. Yes, right. So the opening up of markets and the connection of the interconnection of the world economy, right? And policies that often open up economies for really for profit for a select few, right? But it definitely has an economic impact in how we're all kind of connected in terms of a world economy. And also in terms of going back to advances in transportation technology, a lot of people sometimes now talk about what's called space-time compression. So literally like space and time have become more compressed because of our communication and transportation technologies, right? So space and time have literally gotten smaller, gotten compressed, right? And that has a big impact on globalization.